Got another reaction video. This one's gonna be really good, I think. Why GTA traffic is so bad. I think it's designed to be bad. I mean, it's horrible when you're driving around. Just constantly get crashed into and stuff. So let's watch this video.
We've seen way too many situations of this and that. Well, this is the kind of shit that you can't. Now I understand, go out of their ways, literally, to bump you off the road.
Literally.
Especially when you're carrying something fragile or important. Now I understand Los Santos is supposed to reflect a real-life version of the city of Los Angeles. And yes, that's how I say it. Deal with it. So it is expected for the traffic to look exactly like it has been populated by a bunch of meth heads who have an unhealthy attraction to trading paint and smash bumpers like this Mario Kart. It has been widely accepted in the GTA 5 community that GTA 5 has actually been programmed to force NPCs to swerve onto your predicted path. But is this really true? Well, certainly most of you think so.
Yep,
overwhelmingly,
I think so.
actually. And I've spent an unhealthy amount of hours tracing back this myth to any forums, to any Reddit communities that could have pointed me in the right way to prove this myth once and for all to be true. But I was met with the traditional outcome of trust me bro science, right? I can fully 100% commit to the statement that this myth is false. Any one of you could prove me wrong, but I am a man of science, and I want evidence, goddammit, of which I haven't found yet. But I see what you see. These actions seem way too deliberate for it to just be an accident. But isn't the real world filled with what the fuck moments from people that act like NPCs?
America is a nation that can a single word. I was going to foot.
So could this be another situation of NPCs just being NPCs? Or is there something murky in the code that allows this to actually be intentional? I wanted to find that out. So I decided to do something that I do not wish or want you to do, little Timmy. Don't do this at home. Because once you get into modding and code hunting, you just never come back. I actually wanted to know how the traffic inherently works in GTA 5, especially now that we have access to the actual source code of the game. How do the traffic lights and junctions actually work? Can NPCs recognize danger and be smart about it for once? And most importantly, how can they be such precise assholes by complete accident? To understand all this, we have to analyze the baseline system surrounding the control of NPCs, those being pedestrians or vehicular NPCs. Now, with a pretty nifty software called Code Walker, I'm actually able to rummage through every single major asset regarding map management in a very visual way, instead of looking at a huge wall of text, which is not very attractive, not very demure. My fiance is a bad influence on my humor, Jesus Christ. We can see scenarios which are pre-scripted events which add a little bit of ambience to the game. Something outside of the box of just traffic, like this bus stopping at a bus station, or industrial vehicles leaving a construction.
I just want to pause and say that I'm baking a cake right now. And I'm so hungry to eat that thing.
Site, and a huge multitude of others. We have collision meshes, which made me realize that trees in GTA 5 are actually just a bunch of lollipops. And nav meshes that are, in simple terms, areas where NPCs can traverse both with vehicles and on foot. But these are not the actual paths that NPCs navigate through, but rather a bunch of allowed areas if NPCs find themselves going off course. We typically kick the term AI left and right, but true artificial intelligence truly only kicks in when, let's say, NPCs are chasing you, the player, beyond what they are typically scripted to do. Cop NPCs will pretty much mimic every single input you apply, even if that area is not typically accessed by NPCs.
I've noticed that.
In essence, NPCs actually travel like they're trains, with a specific set of tracks that they can't deviate from. Well, kinda, but we'll get to that. For this, we actually consider traffic paths. If we slip our way into the game files, we'll see paths as an RPF item, the short version of Rockstar pack file. Now these packs, these folders if you want to think it like that, typically hold cars, textures, audio files. And if you actually mod GTA 5, God bless your patience, you know these are typically very easy to access as they hold models and XML files, which is pretty much raw text. IT people, let's be honest, XML is just text. But paths are different. They're composed by a multitude of node areas. If we check back into CodeWalker, we'll see that each area is going to be determining how traffic is regulated in a way. Even though CodeWalker makes it seem like everything is one continuous set of paths, and the game kind of works that way, each of these node areas have to be interconnected. That means if you have 6 roads connecting 2 different area nodes, you'll have about 12 node links at the very least. All this to say that Rockstar didn't really design traffic as a whole, but rather as a conglomerate of little pieces of traffic. These little dots right here, these are nodes. And this is the core system that serves as a baseline for how NPCs are expected to behave. And you can think of these nodes as a sort of magnet. In fact, Rockstar calls these attractors, when at the very least we speak about the scenarios that we've discussed earlier. NPC traffic will always try to get as close as possible to the nearest magnet and respect its orientations, properties, attributes set by each of these nodes. Now this is a very important part, because even though this road right here has a connection to an alleyway, the alleyway itself lacks the scripted flag, which won't allow for NPCs to just randomly drive down said alleyway. To show you how strict these scripted paths are, I'm using a mod that essentially deletes the brain of the NPC, any directives that he had about paths, and just follows the player. So I drive him down the alleyway, and as you can see, as soon as I release him and tell him, go on your merry way, do whatever, he does drive down the alleyway because there is a path. But since his journey started now, he's only going to follow the directive of the nearest magnet, the nearest node, which is to drive down the alleyway. But no matter how many times I try to redirect the original traffic that does have the bot brain to follow the scripted path file, they will do everything. They will do 360, crash into cars, walls, whatever. Their only directive is to reach the next scripted node. So if I cut them off at the node 630, they will not rest until they reach the node 650. They have very little autonomy other than reach the next node by any means necessary, no matter how many NPCs they run over, I guess. This road node right here will be your standard two-way street. Nothing special here. While this one actually has a specific flag to not allow left turns, but we happen to have a left turn lane that does need to allow that. So how does GTA 5 fix this? This node with 3 lanes has to be split into 2 nodes with different flags, one containing the cannot go left flag for the lanes 2 and 3, and the other one that has a slip lane flag for the lane 1 that can go left. You'll see a lot of these splits in traffic, and this is where the shit hits the fan for NPCs most of the times. The reality is the path file does not tell NPCs when to shift lanes. This makes it a make it or break it situation and is completely randomized. NPCs can merge at any point between lanes of the same node. An easy way to force this is to present them with a slow moving object like this barrier that I'm basically placing in front of their faces. All these lanes are in the same node, so it's fine. However, it is completely randomized to whether they decide to stick with a new lane or shift back. But as soon as that slip lane starts, which means another node, that is it. I tried hundreds of times and I couldn't force a single NPC to do a late merge out of nowhere after committing to the new node. And you'd think, well, that's good, that's predictable. But if they get deviated somehow, they will not see a clear space in traffic as a valid path, just for the simple fact it belongs to an unlinked node. Remember that alleyway scenario? They will drive in circles, on sidewalks, oncoming traffic, until they find themselves into that slip lane again. They can't go back to that main road, or
so
vice versa.
Just bad,
I even tried to place
design.
a stationary barrier at the end of the slip lane, and amazingly some NPCs were smart enough to detect collision, but they always merged early, while it was all still one node, before they commit to that slip lane node. While some NPCs seem to miss the memo and they try to plow through the obstacle. Again, completely randomized. There's no pattern, there's no specific vehicles that do that, it's just praying that they don't do that. Remember all this for when we start talking about their alleged intentional crashing, but there is no pattern. Coding here only goes so far. This is the responsibility of the AI engine, since a scripted behavior by path nodes would just make it look way too robotic if all NPCs just decide to shift lanes at the exact same spot, or node in this case. This is a true moment when Rockstar starts to improvise a solution within a flawed system. The combination of AI decision making and scripted paths will always create a conflict. I mean, look at the junctions themselves. There's no dedicated lanes for them, really. It's just a box with a height map that indicates this whole area is a junction. That's pretty much it. Under normal circumstances, considering that you didn't shoot a gun and they became agitated, which is all hell breaks loose, I suppose. But that's pretty much how the AI traffic engine actually works in junctions. If car is about to crash, then car don't crash. That's pretty much it. Their only scripted directive is to connect to another node. Don't get me wrong, despite this hybrid solution being quite unpredictable, the AI system is needed to create a human element to it. Compared with games like Watch Dogs 2, where the cars simply stop. They wait until the obstacle is gone. They don't try to adapt, they just stick to their path and path only. Sure, this might cause less crashes, but it looks fucking weird. This is kind of shitty, Ubisoft, I'm not gonna lie. Grab this L over here, alright?
Garbage,
and pile it
bro.
up with the thousands of L's that you have every day. But in GTA 5, NPCs will actually try to tackle the issue. That's the important part, right? And as you can see, they can actually be pretty effective at it. I'm able to deviate a whole row of cars in the highway to a different lane, as it would happen in real life if you have, roadside work or an accident. So a hybrid system will always be required, at least if we want something that looks genuine, to simulate both normal and erratic behavior as we do have in real life. Now, how do we tackle erratic behavior inside junctions in real life? Ding 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 ding.
Oh,
you are correct. Traffic lights will do the
That's where that's another video right
trick.
there.
So you would expect that GTA 5, the best-selling entertainment piece of all time, not just game, would inspire itself in the same traffic light systems as we have in real life, right? I mean, it's literally copying, so it's even easier that way.
Wrong.
Now, traffic lights in GTA 5 are actually a fun thing to look into. I'm sure by now you have realized that traffic lights don't seem to really matter in the game. Because once you crash into them, NPCs still react as if nothing happened. They can still go through a junction with no problem. But crashing into traffic lights does not necessarily mean that these entities in the game just stop existing. Even when you crash into a dynamic object, which are objects that will fly off when you hit them, basically, they never actually cease to be a thing in the game. The entity still exists. So what happens if I actually delete the entities by using a world editor? Yeah, sorry to burst your bubble, but in GTA 5 these traffic lights are completely fucking useless. I mean, these lights are not even real. They're 2D shaders that just pop in front of the light placements.
Look at
but
that.
The way
That's
these NPCs
debunked.
regulate
It's a psyop, bro. I knew it. That's crazy. I mean, it makes sense though for how old the game is, dude.
Themselves as if these traffic lights were working is kind of funny to look into behind the scenes. You see, these traffic lights are actually set within every junction node and any node that links to that junction node. That's why you can push an NPC to break the law in GTA 5 by making him run a red light. Once you force an NPC, you crash into him or push him to go over the node linked to that junction node, well, all bets are off for that NPC. Any flags that told him to wait are no longer applied. In the specific scenario right here, this NPC ignores that is on a cannot go left node and just Hail Marys across 2 lanes that he shouldn't be going through. All because he left his magnet when he was not supposed to do so. I can place this traffic pole facing a completely different direction and in a different position, but due to the proximity of light props to the junction nodes, this traffic pole will still create these 2D shaders that give a false impression the lights are actually working. That's because the junction nodes have a specific type that in conjunction with other
this is super deep information.
flags that even most modders don't know exactly what the fuck they do.
The next thing we're going to do is make sure the flags are correct. I don't know what any of these flags mean.
You're actually able to set traffic lights to any junction in the game at your heart's contempt. Now what you might still ponder is how does the timing of these traffic lights work exactly? Well, initially I thought these were dependent on each node area. And this wouldn't be such a terrible idea if you allow to pet my own ego here, because it would actually simulate a real-life version of a grid-type system as seen in real life. A lot of traffic lights in the same vicinity will be timed accordingly, even from junction to junction, to maximize traffic flow. So in a straight, you can have a red light that will turn green 5 seconds after the previous one also turns green. This way you can have a huge chunk of a straight road with a nice steady traffic flow. And even though it breaks my heart to say it, GTA 5 is not this clever. It seems like each junction has a completely randomized timer that makes other junctions not have the lights flare up at the same time. The only consistency I was able to find is that apparently all junctions behave the exact same way with the exact same timing. Doesn't matter what the area, doesn't matter how many lanes you have, is exactly the same every time. 40 seconds of red light and 5 seconds of green light. Yeah, you heard that right. You probably didn't realize this because, I mean, who follows traffic laws in GTA 5 other than role players, I suppose, but it's bad. And as soon as a red light turns green, an adjacent light will immediately turn red. This is also a big no-no in real life. There's typically a grace period where both streets from different directions have a red light on, to account for those who run red lights or allow a junction enough time to clear out the traffic. Which GTA 5 could use that shit, obviously. In real life, this would be chaotic, as a lot of times in GTA 5, you can actually see one side of the junction going through a green, while you could very well have both sides running parallel simultaneously. So you're probably wondering, sure, that tackles the times NPCs crash into me when they are deciding to turn on a junction or exit. But why do NPCs crash onto me on a straight road when there's no junctions, no merging or converging lanes? And the reason why it may seem so deliberate to us is that they sometimes go back to the exact same fucking lane they were before. It seems like they're just trying to fuck with us. This is annoying, isn't it? But let me ask you a question. Do you typically get this type of behavior from NPCs in GTA 5 single player or in GTA Online? If this was truly a case of coded behavior, scripted, whatever, you would see equally in both. But this behavior is almost exclusively, or at least most frequently, happening when people are playing GTA Online. Now let me get ahead of the curve here before anyone says, well, we do have examples of this happening in single player. Now, I did research about those to see if I could find any. I couldn't find anything but one from whatever big YouTuber. I'm pretty sure you guys know him. And yes, it does seem like a situation of an NPC just getting in your way, but this proves my whole point about this whole video is that this is not traffic. This, my friends, what you're seeing is a scenario. And scenarios do not give a fuck the current state of the traffic. They do not give a shit about crash detection. They will play out the scenario until they're clear to join traffic. I went to Code Walker for this exact spot in front of the city hall or court. I'm not even sure what this is. But yeah, this is a scenario and these will play out and they don't care who gets in their way. But it surely is not intentional. This has been, when it comes to being programmed, this is the most programmed thing ever. It doesn't change. It is always like this. Now, the system of pathing, if that's a word, is exactly the same in both modes. However, GTA Online has to consider the behavior of other players and the performance of other systems. It was probably easy for them to do, especially when Rockstar is too much of a cheap ass to have dedicated servers and has to rely on peer-to-peer connection, which is not the best. Now with this, NPC behavior has to be synced across different systems with different specs, and it has to be uniform inside the server. But it doesn't really matter if you have players nearby. These things are still loaded into a shared platform, so syncing is a constant problem for online servers.
I know, I've seen that a lot.
Not to mention GTA Online will always have a much more resource-intensive nature, since it can't rely on on-screen space rendering. For those who don't know, most games will only load what is within your field of view, or in other words, what you can possibly see. But GTA Online has a 360 approach to this. Sometimes they have to load properties that are beyond your field of view, for the simple fact that a player can just spawn in and see it, even if you don't. And you see these syncing issues all the time between players, but it will also happen with NPCs. So when you see an NPC dodging absolutely nothing in front of you, it doesn't mean that they're not actually trying to dodge something they saw. It's just that the obstacle is not appearing according to your system. NPCs will still have a tendency to follow these nodes, but a sudden, brief moment where they see something that doesn't actually
It's all
exist
coming together,
makes them
man.
swerve and then immediately go back to where they were. Most of these invisible objects are actual objects that spawn in for about 10 milliseconds, which makes the AI recognize there's danger, I have to dodge this, but not enough for you to see it. Just like how some NPCs might pop in right in front of you. To them, another poorly spawned NPC or player could cause that. Also, allow me to state that some of you do not present a good case for it either when you give examples such as these. I mean, this one, NPCs don't purposely crash into you, is the Epstein didn't kill himself of GTA. Love the title. Creative, I like that. But I can literally see your crewmates shooting from the back of the van. No
that title
wonder the
is
NPCs
insane,
are gonna
dude.
bug out and panic when they're around you. You can even see the van kind of desyncing, which proves my point about this is most likely a GTA Online problem. Or
It
this
is,
one,
bro.
as Rockstar admitted they have coded NPCs to get in the way. It's a little too blatant at the moment. What are you talking about? I can literally see the red icons in your map. There's an active shooter behind you, chasing you. And for those who still haven't picked this up, I suppose, and it's kind of natural when you think about it, it's kind of human to think this way.
NPCs are
Think of an
prone
active
alert
shooter in the
when they're
game
right lane when
as
they're
someone
being-
who has
you're
a
being
force
shot at.
field. And NPCs will always see that
Makes sense.
shooter as something to get away from. So no wonder that the people that are in front of you, the NPCs that are in front of you on the oncoming traffic will try to do a 180, and that means that they will step into your lane and go the same direction that you're going, essentially, because they're trying to run away too. Yeah, when you're doing these missions, expect to be cut off. But regardless, even if
They're
I
running
don't
from
remember
that's crazy.
these specific situations ever happening that badly to me, usually my connection is stable and all that. Not flexing here, but I wanted to see if I could actually force these things or push the NPCs to actually crash into me in a blatant way. So I spent about 1 hour driving around Los Santos in a semi-full lobby with 26 people and see what I would actually get from this.
You didn't
Now,
get
it didn't take me
griefed
5
by the
minutes
Mark
to
II player
get into
or
a very
Deluxo?
dangerous situation where it does seem like an NPC does a very, what a lot of people would describe as very intentional lane shift. But as soon as I compared with single player, I realized that this must be something to do with the nodes. And would you look at that, it is. Even though it is a left turn lane here, both nodes are pretty much glued to each other, which is going to cause for some really aggressive and sudden lane shifts. In fact, in single player it was even worse because he shifted 2 lanes across. And this is something that I cross-referenced with other videos and my own experience. Yes, there are some lanes that just shift so quickly that will make NPCs very unpredictable, but it's not their fault. They're not coded to crash into you. They're just poorly coded in the way of, I guess, merging tolerance, how much they can actually go before they have to merge. Sometimes
I know,
it's
like,
sudden. But
the
that's
fact they
because of
can
how the
merge and
paths
not-
were defined.
they're literally
I tried
sitting,
to bait a
like,
few,
here.
making myself very predictable
go
to,
to
you know,
here
basically
without
go on their
moving much
left or
distance forward
right,
is insane.
and that didn't
They
cause
slide
anything. In
sideways.
fact, one of them actually cleared for me once they realized that I was directly on their side. I caught 2 scenarios which would make me believe that a lot of players will say this is very intentional to me. One of which seems like the NPC is waiting just to basically fuck up your path, but because I was being careful as I typically drive in GTA Online, sue me, I'm not reckless, this would have definitely caught a player that doesn't understand that there's a scenario here of a car parking that usually slows down and then very quickly just parks. And sure, I had a fair bunch of them kind of swerving into me, but that's because the crash detection system for NPCs only operate with forward threats, never rear ones. So this was something expectable, and if you are going to go onto an oncoming traffic, they might freak out. There was another one that seemed like it had no prop, no car, no NPC in front of him, and he still does something very aggressive, which is
I
to
know.
just turn left into another lane. But
Like,
if you pay
didn't look
attention
at
on
all.
Code Walker, or you actually review the footage very closely, there's a line that, even though it doesn't make any sense if in real life this would actually be a thing, to just have a sudden line that has to converge one lane into another one. So yeah, blame it on map design on this one. The path is proper, but it will make for some very sudden changes, that is true. Again, not coded to crash into you. It's just that, and this has been pretty much the.
I would say, I'd argue that
NPCs
that pretty
just
much
do
is,
shit
though.
really fucking quickly, which makes them very unpredictable and unsafe. And in GTA Online, this is the kind of shit that you catch only on online, which makes me believe even more that there's no such thing as, you know, purposely trying to make players crash. It's just shitty resource management, and you can see literally an abandoned car in the middle of nowhere, like an NPC car that has no occupant, no nothing, just chilling right in front of my lane. If I was going 140 miles, as a lot of players go through this area, yeah, most likely they would crash into it and believe that this was a ghost car just planted to, I guess, get their way. But no, this was spawned a while ago. Now, there is one situation where NPCs are trained or coded to actually cut you off, and that's cop cars who try to intercept you if they end up spawning in front of you. And we know how little effective they can be at crashing against you. You can pretty much dodge their interception every time, right? So how come Rockstar can code civilian NPCs to tackle your ass this perfectly, but they don't do this for cops? Kinda weird that they wouldn't apply this.
That was a really good video, though. I think that was a good way to clear up that, though, because I've had that question for years, because it always seems like the cars in online and even story mode, I feel like, are trying to constantly crash into you. This guy's really good, though. I'm gonna link this video. You guys can check it out. It's super good. I recommend you watch it on your own, or at least check out some of this guy's other stuff, and check out some of my other content. And you know, that's about it. See ya.